r/askreddit. Who is the worst attention whore you've come across? There was a chick in my high school who faked pregnancy, claimed to do drugs in the restroom with her drug buddies, and then told people I was the father. I never had sex with her because I kind of had the gay you and me both buddy. Edit. I'm a girl. Who is the worst attention whore you've come across? When we were kids, my brother was opening a boxed present for my little sister on Christmas morning. He was 9 and she was 4. He was using his brand new pocket knife, and he slipped and stabbed himself between the ribs. He was a tad chubby around this time, and it only went 1/3 of an inch in and ended up being nothing, but we didn't know that at the time. So my parents and I are freaking out and they call 911 and start trying to get my brother to lie down and they press the wound and it's all just insane. 0 to 100 in a millisecond. As the ambulance and firefighters and cops arrive and my mother is pressing the wound and all this chaos is going on, my little sister had ripped the box open and found pom-poms and proceeded to dance like a cheerleader for all of the emergency responders, getting increasingly annoyed that they weren't watching her dance. Edit. I just found out from his wife over lunch that he did the same thing to his other side a couple years ago. Lesson. Cut away from your body, not toward it. In 8th grade somehow a rumor got started that a classmate had gotten pregnant and I was the dad. No clue how it got started as she wasn't pregnant. We hadn't had sex nor had we even dated, and given I was mostly just into guys at that point likely never would. She still came up to me and slapped me in front of everyone in shop class for supposedly spreading the rumor. Still confused about so many things about that. This girl in 8th grade claimed she was depressed and suicidal. She was popular so everyone believed her and felt bad for her. She got all kinds of attention for it. There was this kid in the same grade who was actually depressed and he tried hanging himself on a doorknob in the back of our class when no one was looking one day, and in an odd way he became popular after because of it. She decided to do the same one day in class, except no one noticed her doing it until she was passed out and had to go to the emergency room. Okay, I think we found the winner here. I really wish people stopped treating mental illness as an aesthetic. If she was so desperate for attention she was literally willing to kill herself, or at least to risk her life, then she probably had some mental health problems, even if it wasn't depression. Anyone who checks in at the hospital on Facebook or posts a picture in the hospital room then tells someone to message them for what happens or says they don't want to talk about it. Or worse, the ones who check in when it's their kid in hospital, including photos of said kid looking pale or clutching a broken limb. Put the phone down, Hazel, and tend to your kid. Girl in college would constantly try to get attention. Oh, my boyfriend dumped me. My new guy beats me. I'm gay. I'm not gay. I own a signed Kurt Cobain bass guitar, but by far the worst one. I was raped and the guy got sent to prison. Gave people a paper cut out of a rape case, but it looked odd. So I tracked it down using the Google and found she had altered it and it was some other girl. We all cut ties with her after that. Fucking psycho. Kurt Cobain bass guitar. My high school ex posted a picture of a knife to his wrist on Twitter after I broke up with him for cheating on me and being pathological liar. He told everyone to message me and to talk to him. I cut off all contact, or he was going to kill himself. I hate that I was young and dumb, so it worked and we ended up back together. I once had a guy do that, but we'd been on like 3 dates. Called the cops on his pathetic ass. He got all upset with me because his parents got angry with him, lol. But I totally understand the young and dumb part, especially if you once cared about this dude and you don't want to see him in pain. What happened afterwards? Are you two still together? Did he do the same thing again, or did you stand up for yourself? There was a girl in my college that constantly would say shit. During orientation she told people she was recovering from brain cancer, didn't happen, and was partially deaf. She wasn't. She then found out my friend had epilepsy, so she started doing these exaggerated tremors. She then would fake seizures all the time for all the years she was there, which was a pain in the butt because I would have to treat them like real ones. She did it once during a power outage for the most attention possible. She did it so often that once 911 hung up on someone calling it in because they knew it was her. Sounds like a pathological liar. Yeah, that sounds like a girl who lifeguarded with me. She just told everyone about all the awful things that happened to her, and I felt really bad for her. But eventually I was like, there's no way all these bad things happened. Like she said that she was a triplet, but then she and her twin absorbed a third sibling. And that she had lung cancer and had surgery the day before she worked a shift. And one day she came to work and said that a guy came out of his car and choked her while she was biking. IDK, it was a lot. As someone who actually has epilepsy, that's fucking disgusting. That makes our condition look like a joke, or that we're just faking it. Who knows, maybe she was having seizures, since one causes your brain cells to die every time. In my sophomore year of high school I briefly dated, then had an on-again off-again friendship with this senior in my drama class. Let's call him T.I., as in the idiot. T.I. was awesome when we first met. He told a lot of cool stories and seemed to have an interesting life. He was a little weird, but the fun kind of weird, and very socially savvy, so he was generally well liked by a lot of the class. Over time, however, I could tell T.I. was a little off. His stories started to seem a little outlandish, for example, how Katy Perry and Ariana Grande kissed him on each cheek at the same time, how he survived a 30-foot fall from a treetop into a large hole after being unconscious for hours, how he had a fake girlfriend, confirmed to be fake, that he dumped just so he could date me, and other unbelievable stuff like that. Something just wasn't right about this guy. Anyways, the most attention whore thing T.I. ever did was tell our entire class that he had some fatal disease that required surgery, from which he was probably going to die. We weren't dating anymore, and in an on phase of our friendship at this point BTW. He even went as far as saying goodbyes and offering to sell his stuff. Honestly, I could tell that this was probably bullshit. He didn't know what this disease was, except a tumor up near his, and I quote, you know what, and just cause he was a compulsive liar in general, but those who didn't know him as well as I did fell for it. One girl even had to go to counseling because she was so worried about him. He told us this the Thursday before a week-long Thanksgiving break, and that his surgery was the next Tuesday, and if we didn't hear from him by that night, he'd be dead. So I texted him Tuesday night, no response. I texted him on Thursday wishing him a happy Thanksgiving, nothing. At this point, I actually started to get a little worried. What if something did happen to him? But there he was on Monday, back at school, totally fine. Not in a wheelchair or crutches, or even limping. Yeah, I bitched him out on it pretty hard. TLDR. Psycho friend made up a fake fatal illness and worried our classmates' friends for days for the sole purpose of getting attention. Back in early elementary school during art, I used to talk shit about my own art to get a lot of compliments from other students. My teacher noticed it and told me to stop. I once did that and my friend was like, oh yeah, you're right, it sucks, and I felt so betrayed. Good teacher. People who fish for compliments and brag are so annoying. There's a girl in my college classes who claims her dad owns a huge soccer team but doesn't know the name. She's dating one of the LA Lakers but can't give his name out, but she is also talking to someone who's in the NFL to keep her options open. She says her dad works at a local steel factory and has no idea where his extra money comes from because he gives her hush money, then called another girl out in class for lying to fit in. How does she keep her stories straight? Got confused just reading this. I went to high school with a girl like that. She was Indian and her parents owned a cheap motel in my hometown. They would take trips back to India to see their family, and she used to tell all of us she had this huge mansion in India and she was friends with some Middle Eastern prince and they had all these fancy cars and she was dating some super rich Indian guy. But could never provide any pictures of these belongings or these people she knew. Her family lived inside the hotel they owned and drove moderate vehicles. There's no way in hell they were wealthy. Middle class probably, but not wealthy. I knew a girl in college whose father died at least 6 times over the span of one semester. Like, we would be hanging out, and then she gets a call, and then she drops the phone, her eyes go red, and the waterworks start. I'm way too blunt to deal with people like that. Wait, I thought he died last Tuesday. I can't comprehend why somebody would act that way. Guys, my father just died. Didn't he die last month? Well, he got better. Imagine having 6 stepdads. Maybe she had a lot of older sugar daddies with terminal illnesses? A little touchy, but here goes nothing. My brother was in a toxic relationship. He was physically and mentally being abused, not sexually. He did manage to get his abusive girlfriend pregnant. It got to a point where he was actually crying because he just needed to come home with me to our mom. That was the last straw for me, so I said fuck it, come with me. So he grabbed his stuff, and we literally ran from her. She was throwing his stuff out the door and screaming. We kept running, but then she yelled, "If you don't come back right now, I'm going to stick a knife in my pregnant belly." I wish I was making this up. We of course ran back to prevent this, so yeah. That. A lady that I work with is the biggest one-upper I have ever met. In April I had major surgery to remove half of my digestive system and was given a lot of attention from our concerned co-workers. She was not happy because she wasn't the center of attention anymore. Well, she found out she needed to have a DNC, outpatient procedure to cauterize her uterus, and you're awake for the whole thing. She came into work, she decided to milk it for all she could. And when she came into work the next day, she was distraught over the fact no one came to check up on her the night before and wouldn't talk about anything but her recovery. By the end of the week she was telling people she was recovering from cancer surgery. In fact, she still complains that she is recovering from it, and this happened back in April. She also told me, unsolicited of course, that the reason she didn't come see me while I was in the hospital was because her mom had died in a hospital 13 years ago and she is still grieving, and going to a hospital would make her grieving process start all over again. I actually feel bad for her. Oh, I know a bigger one-upper than that. This kid who's chilled out by now and I'm good friends with once was a huge attention whore. One day he walked up to our table while we were peacefully playing Smash and pulled out one of those rolls of minty tape. That's what I call them. Meant to make your breath minty, and says, "I'm eating this whole roll and none of you are ever gonna stop me, goddammit," and so we didn't. My grandma has to make everything about her. Literally everything, no matter the person or situation. And if the convo switches to where it's not about her, she gets visibly annoyed and you can see the gears turning in her head as she tries to figure out how to re-get the conversation back onto her. She constantly retells stories she's already told 1,000 times back from when she was younger if she can't think of anything recent. If I have to ever again hear about how she was prom queen back in 1951, or valedictorian of her 10-person 8th grade class, or how whenever she goes anywhere, everyone just loves her, she literally says, "And you know, they just loved me all the time," I'm gonna lose it. The death posts on our teenagers. I told my daughter to jump off a cliff, and when she did, she died. I'm so distraught right now. Karma would probably make me feel better though. Pretty sure you came across the fake one from earlier. My cat lap hops around the room to find the best one. His best score was when the best lap was next to the best pets. There was this British TV show about bad moms and one of them made her daughter dress way older than she looked. Daughter wanted to wear a t-shirt and jeans to go out to eat. Mom made her wear tights, mini skirt, boots, tight tee, sleeveless overcoat, and a boatload of jewelry. Kid basically looked like she was in a Disney show and would make her daughter randomly sing and do her cheer routine in public because you never know who's watching. People get discovered on the streets every day. My mom did this and it fucked me up so bad. I wasn't allowed to pick out clothes until I was 14. She decided on my outfits and hair. I get it, she wanted me to look nice, but treating me like a doll wasn't the answer. I know it sounds dumb and weak, but it left trauma. If I didn't sit perfectly still for 4 hours while she did my hair, I got screamed at, my hair yanked on, and denied food. The little blonde girl. I felt so bad. TLDR, crazy bitch in high school made up a story about my car accident to make sure she was the only one who could contact me. Forced people to like her. Is disgusting, babbles like a baby. I was friends with this girl in middle school, and I decided to give her a chance despite what others were telling me about her. Shame on me. When I was in the middle of high school I got into a really traumatic car accident. This girl attempted to cut my contact off with everyone but her because she told everyone that my phone broke in the accident, when in fact I was on social media every day for the 2 weeks I was in the hospital, and the 3 months I was out of school. She made it her job to tell everyone what was going on with me, though she had no clue herself. She forced herself to be the communication between myself and my school, and I had to let the guidance counselor know that I did not want this girl relaying any work or information to me or the school anymore. I never even gave her permission to do that. Found out about her little scheme a few months after she pulled it, as I was kinda wondering why everyone abandoned me after hearing about my accident. I did get an overwhelming amount of cards and gifts sent to my house that my teachers had compiled from all the students. People saying they missed me and to please contact them, so I wondered why they didn't just reach out to me first. A trusted friend ended up telling me what the girl had done. I decided to cut her off right then and there because I always knew about her menacing ways but tried to see the good in her. She was that person in high school that would run to be the officer in various school elections and would make sure everyone voted for her by forcing them to show her their slips, deliberately changing their votes, etc. Unfortunately, this worked in her favor for 2 years before I became the class officer. She began to hate me and spread rumors about me because I cut her off, but I found out she did this to many other people throughout the school. Had a little group of girlfriends that she gossiped to with her petty drama. It's a very typical tale really. Besides causing trouble, her ways of attention seeking are to steal people's food, beg loudly to eat anyone's extra snacks, burp and fart in people's faces, and make as many baby noises, like babbling, as possible. High school. I didn't miss it one bit. My ex. When I told a friend to go check up on her because she kept posting suicidal shit on her IG story, she immediately said I was stalking her. Bro, I literally just checked on you. Calm the fuck down, LMAO. TLDR. Aunt's a viscous bitch and attention whore who only cares about Facebook likes and doesn't care how she gets them. My aunt always has been and probably always will be the biggest attention whore I've ever met. At least I hope I never meet anyone worse. I'm going to sound awful at first but hear me out. It started when she got cancer. She'd post on Facebook about how long she was at doctors and how she felt and that the family needed to gather around more. She told everyone she was going to be dead in under 6 months. At the time I understood. Sure, get that attention, get some love from friends, family, and internet strangers in your support group. That's an awful situation. She went into remission though. People didn't give her the same amount of encouragement and support she had been getting when she had led everyone to believe she was 100% going to die in 6 months. The people in the terminal cancer support group slowly stopped commenting completely. So I guess she missed the attention and started making posts bashing on the entire family that we're ungrateful and unappreciative of the battle she went through for us. My siblings and I live too far for normal visits, so we took a lot of fire during this time for not visiting enough when she thought she was dying. We did visit but not as often as she felt we should have. Fast forward about a year, and here's where it starts getting bad. She starts posting pictures of my grandmother who is no longer in her right state of mind. Awful pictures. Hair messed up, food all over her face and clothes, dark rings under her eyes. With comments like it's so hard to take care of your parents. Makes me so sad. Pray for us. My grandmother's memory is so far gone that every time I visited she thought I was my mother who passed away years before. I wouldn't correct her, but my aunt loved to. Nanny, she's dead, she died years ago, at which point my grandmother would sob uncontrollably until she forgot why she was crying. Rinse and repeat 4-5 times a visit. Each time my aunt would snap a photo and post about how hard it was to be the one to remind someone with dementia that her daughter-in-law is dead. Then I was in a car accident. It was a bad accident. I broke my neck and had a miscarriage. When I woke up in the hospital I was alone, but she had already heard of the accident from my father, who was my emergency contact. She added the other car's family members on Facebook, posted pictures of the car accident from the news and lied about my injuries. Such a bad accident, I can't believe she hit you guys. Thank God you only got a broken arm and she only broke a hip. Praying for you, posted the same photos but hidden from the other people's family, tagged as another awful family catastrophe. Thank God OP didn't get herself or someone else killed. The accident wasn't my fault. I didn't break a hip. And one of the other car's passengers had a brain bleed and was in the hospital and rehab for over a year. And the most recent and the worst of all. I've never been big on Facebook and she quit tagging me when I asked her to stop contacting the other car's family as per my lawyer's request. Well, my grandfather's health had taken a turn for the worst. He was in hospice care. She of course was milking it for attention for herself. Since she wasn't tagging me, I was completely unaware. For this instance, however, she also neglected to tell my siblings and my father of this sudden and rapid health decline, going as far as to hide the posts from my sister, who always read and commented on her posts. None of us were aware. The rest of the family was gathered and was able to say their goodbyes on the day he died. She then posted a picture of my dead grandfather on Facebook, telling everyone that they were lucky to have been there for him in his final moments, this time tagging me, my siblings and my father. A follow-up post of my grandmother crying, saying, "How am I supposed to tell her again when she forgets? Pray for us." Well, I was at work when he passed, so I didn't even see the posts yet. I got called into my manager's office because an aunt on my mother's side called yell at me because my awful aunt messaged her and told her none of us showed up to visit my grandfather on his deathbed. My manager let me leave early and I got to my phone in my locker and see the post and messages from my siblings that my father was distraught and drank himself into oblivion and was now at the hospital getting his stomach pumped. Wanna guess what my awful aunt's next post was? A post about my father drinking himself down because he felt guilty for being an awful son and not caring enough to visit his dying father, and how it made her so sick that she was alone in all this with no support from her baby brother. She kindly tagged us all in that post too. Too much information? Yeah, probably, and I'm sorry for the wall. Do I feel better after sharing? I 100% do. I'd share my feelings about her on Facebook, but she'd just fucking love it. There was a girl who used to be part of this group of friends that I saw on the odd occasion when I was a teen. I only met her twice, but on both occasions she started to full on sing super loud whenever everybody else was talking and she was not involved in the conversation. I kind of have a friend who randomly bursts into song in public. People in her life encouraged it for years and she just won't fucking stop. She's terrible. She's also a total weeb and sings mostly anime intros, pronouncing every word wrong. I knew a woman who was similar. She was actually a pretty good singer. Problem was, it went to her head and she sang in everybody's face after announcing what a good singer she was. Annoying. I had a girl in my class which kept telling lies to make her seem more badass or that she would be living the best life. She always told everybody that she was living on top of a mountain and had to go like 5 kilometers to school every morning by foot. I was actually friends with her, so I went to her house once and she was living in an apartment which was in an alleyway filled with drunkards. She also said that she was part of some group that were basically freelancers and that she would do life-threatening tasks every day. But she also said that it would have to stay a secret, even though she basically just screamed it around the whole school. Overall, her stories about that group had so many cliches, like that they had a member which was a 12-year-old, which went fucking berserk every time he saw blood because his parents were killed in front of him, and that they had some 12-year-old scientist, which apparently built some sort of gun that they'd use on the berserk kid to calm him down. She also said that she had a rival or something because apparently she kept getting followed by a dude that knew her code name, but every time she chased him he would apparently jump on a fucking roof and run off. The stories also had a lot of logic failures. She once told that the group was building gliders for forest missions to jump from tree to tree easier, even though the gliders would be way too wide and they'd just break the wings because it would collide with every possible tree. Once she also told us that the group would have a 12-year-old member that for some reason had access to guns and that he shot a fist-sized hole through her wrist during a training session. She apparently didn't even get medical treatment but instead just put a bandage around half of her arm. But in school she was able to move her arm completely normal and there were never any traces of a wound, not even some blood or something. So nobody ever believed her and she became the most hated of the class. At the end of the year she had to leave the school because her grades were too bad, and she kept telling that it was just because of French and that she would have the best grades of everybody, even though the truth was that she had a D in almost every class and even multiple E, which can make you leave the school. And here in Germany, by the way, she was also just 12 years old. A girl I know is always sick with something or other. She is also always whinging about how the surgeons tell her she doesn't need operations. She persists though until she gets them. It's not a pain pill thing. Purely attention. All she talks about is how terrible hers is and she can't work because of it. Then a month later we never hear about the first problem again and she now has ABC. She's managed to get 2 shoulder operations, a knee reco and an endo-op. Surprise surprise, the surgeon said she looked fine when they opened her up and she's never complained about those things ever again and now has other things too wrong which conveniently only affect her when she wants something. Alright. In high school, my buddy was banging this girl who told everyone she got shot. I asked her to see the bullet wound and she pulled her shirt down a little so I could see her shoulder. You know what was fucking covering her wound? One single ace band-aid. She got a shot. You know those vaccines are as bad as bullets. College and HS. Lots of them. Girls and guys that would act drunker than they were at parties or bars to get more attention and get away with doing shit then falling back on the I drank too much excuse. High school it was more obnoxious and obvious, just more prevalent in college. They had worked out the kinks by then so it was harder to tell if they were faking it or actually just hammered. I have used the excuse myself. Amazing how people actually buy that when you are young. They were more along the lines of attention sluts. No one was paying them. When I was in middle school, these 2 guys I knew stabled horses at the barn I did. Well, one night we were having a small cookout and they started acting drunker than hell, saying that they drank too much beer. When I was sent to their father's truck to get hot dogs I saw a half-empty case of root beer in glass bottles. I grabbed one and showed it to them. I called them out on their bullshit and they immediately sobered up. These were the same kids that tried to show off to me and a friend by identifying edible plants. They ate a bunch of poison ivy. My friend and I tried to stop them, but they didn't think girls could know what plants to eat.